morning. I woke up this morning. It's kind of a big day for us, and my wife looked over at me. She said, "Happy Lutheran Super Bowl." Kind of like that. He is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah. Nice. You're very warmed up now at this point. And we hear this good news that the tomb is empty, that Jesus is alive, that Jesus is raised from the dead, resurrected forever. And yet, as I hear this, as this great news goes through my mind, I have to wonder, is this really the message for us on Easter morning? Is the fact that Jesus is alive again, and now deathless, why we come to church? If that is the reason why we come to church, why do we hear so little about Jesus in our story this morning? Why don't we hear anything about how he came back to life? What happened in the tomb? I mean, we barely see Jesus in our story this morning. He only appears for a moment at the very end, and then he has one line. And if Easter Sunday is only about Jesus' new life, where is the hope for us? I mean, most of us, as we get here, we can all agree that Jesus is special, all right, and he's different. And so it makes sense for something incredible to happen to him and for him. And yet that leaves me wondering, what about us? I don't know about you, but I know too well what it's like to not feel special. I know what it's like to not feel wonderful, to wonder if you have any hope for the future at all. And this is why we, the disciples, you and me, we desperately need Easter morning. We need Easter, the surprise of resurrection against all odds. Not when everything is going fantastic, but when our lives seem out of control and we feel no matter how hard we try, we will never be enough. Has anybody out there ever felt that way in their life? Has anybody ever felt like they aren't enough? I wonder if this is why on the day of God's greatest triumph, the morning where sin, death, and the devil are finally defeated, that God turns the story back towards us, God's beloved and broken creation. I believe we see this in the primary focus of both the angels and Jesus' words to the women in Matthew's gospel this morning. All right, so real quick pop quiz, where do we leave the disciples on Good Friday? Where do we leave them? In the garden, running away, hiding. They betray Jesus, they deny knowing him, and all of them abandon him. Despite promises to the contrary, they've all left Jesus. And yet, what are the angels' words? Who does Jesus want to see first? His disciples, yeah. And he says his, all right? They aren't called his former disciples. They aren't called his so-called disciples. No, they're Jesus' disciples without qualification or condition. When Jesus shows up, he goes even further, and he calls the disciples my brothers, even though they haven't done anything to make up for or apologize for their failings. And they haven't even bothered to show up at his grave. Jesus claims them as his own, as his family. The disciples belong to him and with him. Jesus loves them with a no-matter-what-ness that goes beyond the grave and back. And the good news of Easter and the resurrection is that God has laid the same claim on all of you. I don't know, but I've been there. We all have a deep fear. Fear from the earliest of ages that we won't fit in, that we won't ever belong, that we won't ever be a part of, be invited, be wanted, that there are things that can put us beyond God's love and God's forgiveness. I want to tell you a story. When I was growing up, I played Little League, and I wasn't very good, so that's why I'm a pastor. But there was a kid on my team who was pretty good. His name was Chip, and Chip was a pretty good ball player. But I don't know if you've ever seen a family like this, but his dad was always yelling at him stand. Nothing this kid ever did was good enough. In one game, unfortunately, I was up to bat. In the last inning, we were down by 1 run and the bases were loaded. And I wasn't a very good hitter. So pretty soon I had 2 strikes on me, and my coach gets desperate, and he gives me the sign to bunt. All right, because I was somewhat better at that. And so I square up, I make contact, and the ball rolls foul. All right, my baseball fans out here, what happens when you have 2 strikes and you bunt and you foul it off? So, the whole team's, we've lost. The whole team's leaving the field. I'm feeling terrible about myself, and it's about to get worse. As I come off the field, Chip's dad is there screaming in my face how I messed up, how I got the wrong sign, and how I lost the game for the team. And at this point, because I'm like in 3rd grade, I break down in tears. And I'm feeling like a complete loser, and I'm like, nobody will ever want me on their team again, and I just wanted to go and hide. Well, my dad found me and asked me what was wrong. So I told him what Chip's dad had said. My dad gave me 50 cents and told me to go get a pop at the concession stand. Chip's dad never said anything to me ever again. Years later, I asked my dad about it. I said, what happened? My dad said that he went up to the man and told him that he couldn't stop him from being a jerk to his own son, but that I was my father's son, that I belonged to him. And if Chip's dad ever said anything to me again, he'd have to deal with my dad. You ever wonder what Jesus was doing on those 3 days between Easter and Good Friday? In our Apostles' Creed, we confess that we believe that Jesus died and descended to hell. I believe that Jesus went down there to tell the devil and all the forces of evil who we truly belong to. That we are children of God, and that the devil has nothing to say to us nor any claim over our lives. We are God's now and forever, no matter what. And this is the same message each of us hears this very morning. You are mine. You are my beloved. We have been claimed through the waters of baptism and made part of the family of Christ forever. Whatever you've done, whatever you've left undone, Jesus wants to see you. Jesus wants to be with you. There will always be a place here and a place at the table. Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed. Hallelujah.